All right, so today I am not doing a Zoom because in class I'm going to be showing kids how to do this with the Inspire. And since y'all have not gotten the Inspire, then I want y'all to see this through the Desmos. And as soon as we get you guys uh, getting the Inspire, then uh, we will start connecting you back to class, or maybe after this test then we'll start doing those live Zooms again. Keep clicking, keep finding out if we're doing live Zooms. But right now, if I was doing a live Zoom, I don't know that it would benefit y'all because I think y'all need to see it with the Desmos. All right, so yesterday we talked about parallel and perpendicular. And if you remember, parallel was the easy one. Parallel slopes are the same. Perpendicular was the one that was a little bit tougher. Perpendicular was opposite reciprocals. Opposite means to change the sign. Reciprocal means to flip the fraction. There are two things that have to happen to be perpendicular. All right. So I know that we've never talked about this form right here, even though you've seen equations that look like this from time to time. They always have a number with y, and they got parentheses over on this side. This is something called point slope form. And anytime it looks like this, the number right next to x, even though there's a parentheses right there, is still your slope. And so I know y is not by itself, but it's not y and x on the same side. So usually when you see this, this is point slope form, and this is going to be your slope right here. So we know that the slope is 2. Now they want us to find the perpendicular slope. And all we're looking for here is the slope because there's no y equals here. And so if the slope is 2, then there's two things we have to do in order to get the perpendicular. One, we got to change the sign. So if this is a positive, then that's going to be a negative. Okay. Then we have to flip the fraction. Well, right now, that's not a fraction. So if I make it a fraction, so I put it over 1. Anytime you got a whole number, you just put it over 1. If I flip that, then it becomes 1 over 2. So my perpendicular slope is going to be a negative 1 over 2, C. Okay, now that's the one that's kind of more difficult. Okay, parallel is the one that we really like. And so when we take a look at this one, now this one, unfortunately, they... All right, so on this one, because they got x and y on the same side, we actually got to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract the x first. So I'll go ahead and draw my line right here. So we're going to put minus 2x and minus 2x. That cancels. We're bringing down our 4y, a positive 4y. We never combine these right here. And we got minus 2x plus 4. Okay, then the second thing is we're always going to divide by the number in front of y. So we're going to divide by 4, and divide by 4. All right, so unfortunately, we need to go plug this into our calculator to see if it reduces. Now, we're only interested in the slope, which is next to x. So I'm not interested in anything else, just the slope. So I'm going to go plug in to our scientific Desmos. I'm going to go hit fraction bar and plug in negative 2 over 4 and hit enter. So it gives me this 0.5, but then you click on this right here, it converts it to a fraction, would be negative 1/2. Okay. So if this is negative 1/2, then the parallel slope, would be the exact same. If this is negative 1/2, then my parallel slope would be negative 1/2. All right, so this was kind of a review from yesterday. Now what we're going to be doing is taking what we learned yesterday and we're going to apply it to writing equations. And writing equations are going to be when the answers have y equals right here, and they're going to give us a point. So immediately I know that at some point I'm going to be plugging this into the calculator and I'm checking this point right here. Now, before I can do that, I've got to fit the conditions they've set up here. So they're going to give me my slope, but they've kind of hidden it. And so they're telling me that the slope is parallel to this line right here. Well, what's slope in here? It's going to be a positive 1/2. So what do we know about parallel slopes? They're the same. So my new slope should be a positive 1/2. And when I look at my answers, can't be B because that's a negative 1/2. Can't be D because that's a negative 1/2. So I know it's got to be one of these two right here. So now I've got two lines and I got to see which one contains this point right here. All right, so now we're going to go to the graphing Desmos. And anytime we go to the graphing Desmos, we always refresh it. Okay, so we're typing in y equals 1 over, and to do a fraction, we want to do divide right here. So 1 over 2. Make sure you get out to put your x. And then I cannot remember, plus 3. So it's always good to write this down. So plus 3. Now, we're not interested in the line because we're matching a point. So we're going to hit our settings and table. And then we are checking the point 2, -2. So I know 2 is already there. So let's just go look at it. This says 2, 4. That is not what we're looking for. So this is not going to be it. So we're going to go change this. So remember, you change it up here. And the only thing that we got to change is that to a minus. So if you remember, the only difference between A and C was the fact that this was a minus. And so we switch that to a minus. And notice this says 2, -2. That's what we're looking for. And C is going to be our answer right there. So we just typed in C and it gave us 2, -2. And I hope you guys see what I was looking at. Maybe I should not assume that. This is what I was looking at right here. They already had +2 in and the y was -2. So I didn't need to type it in, even though you could have typed it in and gotten the same thing. Okay. So that's how we check our points. Which, by the way, if you struggled on the test on Friday and we do this today, you start to understand how to check points a little bit better, go back and retake that quiz. Just make sure you email me and let me know that you did that so that I can update your grade. Okay, so this one right here, we got C as our answer. All right, number 4. So we're taking a look at this and I know I got y equals and I know I have a point. So eventually I'm going to be plugging this in. Matter of fact, if you don't know how to do perpendicular, then plug all these in and see if it has this point right here. It doesn't guarantee that it's the answer, but there's a pretty good shot that it's the answer. Okay, at least 50-50, and sometimes it'll be the only equation that has this right here. Okay, so it just never hurts to go and try and plug that in and see what happens. All right, so I want to try and figure out what the slope is. And it says it's perpendicular to the slope here, which is always in front of x, which is 2, -2. So in order to be perpendicular, I got to do 2 things. So I'm going to have to change the sign. So I'm going to change the sign. And then I'm going to flip the fraction. Well, this isn't a fraction. So I'm going to put over 1, and then I'm going to flip it, and it becomes 1 over 2. So I need a positive 1 over 2. Something that your answers could have helped you with is when you look at this and you see -2, and these answers have -2, you're like, okay, that would be parallel. And so when you look up here and it's a positive 1/2, you're like, oh, well, this must be a positive 1/2. So honestly, just looking at your answers could have helped you right there, just because you know that when it's the same, it's parallel. That's the one I expect you to know. And so we know it's not these two because it had -2 slopes. All right, so now we know it's got to be one of these two. So we're going to go type it in. I'm going to go ahead and write this down, x minus 5 over 2. So if it's not this one, then I know just to change that to a plus. And we're looking for the point -3, -4. All right. So I'm going to write that down so I don't have to go back and forth. So always reload. All right, so we're going to go type this in. So y equals, and then we'll be doing some fractions here. So 1 divided by 2 for a fraction, x minus 5, and then fraction bar again, so it's division over 2. All right, so we're not interested in the line. We want to turn this to a table. And then we're looking for -3, -4. So I'm going to type in -3. And it says -3, -4. That's the only point that I have. So if that's correct, which it is, then I know A is my answer right there. So we just type this in. We type the X, and then we see if the Y it gives us is correct. All right. And when we talk about the quiz on Friday was not talking about parallel perpendicular. It was only just checking points, or they would give you the slope. And so that's why if you didn't understand how to plug it in and you took that quiz, then if you do start understanding, then like I said, then you can go back and do it. All right. So here they want parallel, but they didn't give me the Y by itself. So we're going to have to do this. And this is not necessarily accurate, but they do this every once in a while. They put a -3x here. Normally, they would always be positive. So if this is negative, we know we're going to get rid of x first. I'm going to add 3x. So we're going to add 3x to both sides. So that'll cancel that out, and we get a positive 2y is equal to, we never, ever, ever combine these. So we get 3x minus 5. All right, then the second step is always to divide by the number in front of y. So we're dividing by the number in front of y. All right, and then my slope here is going to be 3 over 2. Now, I want a parallel slope. So let's look at our answers. Parallel means it's going to be the exact same. This is the easy one. So we look, A says a -3 over 2. That's not right. It should be a positive 3 over 2. Both of these are positive. D says a -3 over 2. All right, so we know it's got to be one of these right here. And we're going to go type this in. So 3 over 2x plus 1. And then if this doesn't work, then I know it's -1. And the point we're checking is 2, 4. And I'm going to go ahead and erase all of this right here just to kind of clean that up. I don't want to get confused at what I'm typing in. All right, reload this. All right, so we're going to go y equals 3. So fraction bar is division. So 3 over 2. And make sure you get out of your fraction before you put the x. And then plus 1. All right, so then we're going to hit our settings and convert to table. I'm looking for 2, 4, and oh, right there, 2, 4. So the one with plus 1 is going to be our answer. And plus 1 would be B. B. All right. So looking at 6, once again, they're looking for parallel. I do like parallel, but they don't give me y by itself. So we got to get y by itself. All right, so this is a -4x, so we're going to add 4x to both sides. Add 4x and add 4x. So that cancels. Now, be careful here. It's not just 3y. It's -3y. So we got to include that negative, or we're going to get everything wrong if we don't include that negative. All right, we never combine these right here, so that's 4x, and then the 2 goes at the back, positive 2 plus 2. All right, so now we're going to divide by the number in front of y. So we're going to divide by -3, divide by -3, divide by -3. All right, so that cancels out, and we get y equals, actually, we don't even need to rewrite this. I see that they all say 4 over 3. We want a -4 over 3. It's parallel, so we want the exact same thing, -4 over 3. So A does not say -4 over 3. B and C do. D does not. So now we are going to go type these in and check this point right here. So we're going to type in -4 over 3x, and I'm going to start with plus 8. If that doesn't work, I know I'm changing it to a -8. And I'm looking for the point -3, -4. All right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit so I don't type in the wrong thing. All right, so let's go to, not sure what happened there. All right, so let's look at our calculator. We're going to refresh this right here. All right, and we're typing in y equals -4, and then fraction bar is division. So -4/3 x, and then +8. All right, so we want table so that we can check the point, and we're checking -3. We want it to say -3, -4, so -3 says 12. All right, so this is not it. So how do we edit this? We go back up to right here, and you can click in it, and then switch that from a plus to a minus, and take a look. It remembered everything, and now it says -3, -4. So it was the one with the minus. Let's go back. Oh, I think for some reason it came apart. So the one with the minus would be C. And like I said, if you're not understanding this parallel perpendicular, or if you're like, oh, I can't get y by itself, what could we do? Remember, good test takers always focus in on what they can do. Never focus in on what you can't. If the only thing you can do is type in all these answers and check this one point, do it. A lot of the times you're actually going to get the answer. Every once in a while, then they may have another line that also contains this point right here, and it's going to be the wrong answer. And so, but in the end, at least you're doing something. So you give yourself a shot. And so the biggest thing out of all this is be able to check the points. All right, let's go down. All right, so we got another parallel, but this time, I know y is not by itself, but when you see y with a number and then parentheses over here, this is that point slope form. And the number in front of x is our slope. So -2 is our slope. We don't need to do anything, okay? And so we want the parallel slope. So if the slope is 2, the parallel slope is going to be -2. So if it's -2, it's going to be -2. So I look at my answers, it's got to have a -2. Well, it's not C and D. And so it's got to be one of these two right here. So we're going to go type these in. So I'll type in -2x plus 8. And then the point I'm checking is -3, -2. Okay, so let's go see what we got here. All right, we're going to refresh this. And we're typing in y equals -2x plus 8. And then we don't want the line, we want a table. And we want -3, 2. So we're going to type in -3 here. So -3. And we get -3, 14. Okay, well, that's not it. Well, I'm pretty sure that the next one was a -8. So we're just going to go change this to a -8. And notice what it says here. All right, that's the point we were looking for, -3, -2. So we'll go back. And we put in the -8, which would be B. Once you get your answer, make sure you know which one you typed in. Okay, and remember, you can always go back and look at the calculator and it will tell you. All right, so this one, they want perpendicular, but then they didn't put y by itself, so we got to work this out. All right, so they put a -x here. So like I said, this worksheet, they seem to do that a lot. This usually doesn't have a minus. It's usually always positive, but since it's a -x, we're going to add x. We're going to add x to both sides. You always do the opposite. So this gives me 4y is equal to, and then we never combine these, so we got x and then -2. Okay, then we divide by 4, divide by 4, and divide by 4. When I take a look at this, it's x over 4. Well, there's got to be a number there, And when I look at this, the only one that's a fraction are these. So it kind of tells you there's an understood 1 here. So even if you didn't know, like, all right, well, there must be a 1 right there. So 1/4 is going to be my slope. Oh, but wait a second. That's the slope of this line. What did we want up here? This nearly got me. We want perpendicular. And so perpendicular means we're going to flip it and change the sign. So I'm glad I circled this because it drew my eyes up here and I nearly forgot. And so if we flip this and change the sign, let's change the sign first. This is positive, and now we're going to flip it to a negative. Flip it to negative. We're going to change the sign to a negative, and then we're going to flip the fraction, and it becomes 4/1. And 4/1 would just be -4. So we know it's going to be -4x, and I'm going to go ahead and put plus x, and then we'll put plus 15 because it's not this one and not that one. So I'm going to type in C. Now, this is obviously extremely difficult. So if you're not sure, at least just type these in, type them all in, and check this point, -3. And there could just be one answer here that has -3, -3. If there is two and they trick you, then they trick you. Okay, but don't sit there and say, well, I can't do this, therefore I'm not going to do anything. Do what you know. And we do know how to type these in and check a point. All right. But since I was able to eliminate these, I'm going to go type these two in. And the point I'm checking is -3, -3. All right. And let me get rid of all this so that I don't accidentally type in the wrong thing, because that was tricky. All right. So we're going to refresh this. And we're typing in y equals -4x plus 15. All right, we want to go to settings and go to table. And we're checking -3. They love -3, don't they? -3. Nope, -3 and 27. And so that's not it. So the next one had a -15. So we just come right here, change that to a minus, and look what happens. So -3, -3, exactly what we're looking for. Oh, forget it moved. All right, so it was -15 that we ended up typing in. So what I really hope you're getting good at is how we're checking these points, because that was our quiz, and a lot of us didn't do very well on our quiz. So that's the biggest thing right there. Because like I said, you can always do that. Okay, so it looks like this is the same thing, but they've already given us a y by itself. So they want the parallel to, and because y is by itself, that's my slope. So if it parallel would mean the exact same. So if it doesn't say -3/4, mark it off. Okay, so only B and D have that. And now we're going to go check this point. So we're going to check -3/4x plus 5, and we're checking 4 and 2. All right. So we're going to reload this. All right, so we got y equals -3. We're going to make it a fraction, so that's a divide, over 4x plus 5. All right, so we're going to hit our settings, and I will go ahead and erase this out of the way. All right, so we want to type in 4 and see if we get 2. So 4, do we get 2? Yes, we do. So this right here, we typed in, oh, I typed in the one that had a plus right here. And if I'm not sure, then you go back and check. Yep, I typed in the one that had a plus. So A had a minus. I typed in the one that had a plus. So I typed in C. So this is where you got to be careful. And I see this happen all the time. And so do y'all remember I cleaned it up by marking some stuff off? Hold on a second. Hold on. So I cleaned this up by clearing some stuff out so it wasn't in my way. And it was supposed to have a negative. I marked these off right here. That's why I did a positive right there, was because this was it. So these were already marked off. Notice if I didn't mark them off, I completely forgot what I was doing and went and picked C right off the bat. So if they're marked off, you won't make that mistake. And so we typed this one in with a -3/4 and a +5. So the answer is B. Whew, nearly messed up there. All right. Parallel. And once again, I just want to remind you, if you're like, I don't know how to do parallel, then focus on what you do know, type all of these in, and check to see which one has -3, -3. All right. So parallel right here is going to have the exact same slope. So it's going to have 7/3. So if it doesn't have 7/3, let's get rid of it. This time I'm going to keep all that, but I am going to get rid of all this. So it's not in the way of the calculator. All right. So it's going to be one of these two. So I'm going to type in 7/3x plus 4, and I'm looking for -3, -3. Okay. So reload it. And I always get kids that are like, this is too much. I get that, you know, it takes a little bit of time to type this stuff in right here. But, and we're doing a fraction, so fraction is division. But what I always like to remind kids is, yes, this might be a little hard, but what's harder, x plus 4, is retaking the STAR test or retaking Algebra 1 multiple times. That's what's hard. And I know a lot of kids feel like, you know, in middle school, they just passed me on, but unfortunately, in high school, there's requirements. You have to pass certain classes. You have to pass the STAR test to graduate. And, you know, I deal with kids that in June, I deal with them that they didn't graduate in May. And they didn't graduate because they didn't pass the STAR test, or they didn't, you know, finish some classes that they needed, and they don't get to graduate. And so, yes, this is a little, you know, time consuming, but it's way easier than retaking classes or taking classes in the summer, taking the STAR test, you know, 4 and 5 times. So, all right, so we're going to go to settings, table, and we're looking for -3, -3. And we got it. So we typed in +4. I forget that it's over here. So +4 would have been A. All right. More good news if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, how many problems do we have left? We got 18 problems, and these last 4 fly through. We'll fly through those last 4 problems. So let's see, we just did, so we got really just a couple more. We got 4 more of these, and then we're going to fly through the last 4, and we'll be done for today. All right, so this right here says perpendicular. So perpendicular, here's our slope. Perpendicular is the one that we've got to flip and change the sign. Now, let's be good test takers here for a second. Let's say you're go, man, I can't remember what to do with perpendicular. Do your answers help you at all? Well, 2 of my answers are 1/2. Well, the one thing I do know, and I hope y'all know, is that parallel is the same, not perpendicular. So I know we're not looking for parallel. So we can get rid of those 2 right there. So if you don't know what perpendicular is, what just happened? Your answers are telling you what it is. It's got to be -2. So if I flip that and change the sign, I've got to change it to a negative. And if I flip it, it becomes 2/1, which is -2. That's how a good test taker lets the answers help them if they know the easy stuff. And the easy stuff is parallel. Okay, parallel slopes are the same. And I focused in on what I knew and eliminated these 2. All right. So I'm going to go type this in. We're looking for the point 1, 4. So go reset this. All right, so we're going to go y equals 1, no, -2, x plus 6. So y equals negative 2x plus 6. I'm going to hit the table, and we're looking for 1, 4. Does that say 1, 4 right there? Yep, sure does. So this is my answer, and I typed in plus 6. All right. Perpendicular. All right, this one's very tricky. It might actually be easier to focus in on what we know. First off, there's an understood 1 right here. And I know that the parallel slope would be 1. So when I look over here, it can't be A or B because those would be the same. This is telling me that the perpendicular would be negative 1. And that's correct. If I take 1, which is 1 over 1, and I flip it and change the sign, if the sign would be negative, if I flip it, it becomes negative 1 over 1. And so negative x plus 1 is my negative 1. That's very difficult right there. It's real tricky. But notice how if you focus in on what parallel is and eliminate the parallels, because we don't want parallel, then all of a sudden it'll tell you what the perpendiculars are. I hate to say that that always happens, but it happens quite a bit. All right, so we're looking for the point 3, maybe 3, negative 2. All right. Forgot what I was doing. All right, so we're going to type in, and I should have cleared all this out. Dadgummit, I eliminated my answers, didn't I? Right here, there were answers, and I eliminated them. So I got to remember to go back and not forget that I eliminated some answers here. All right, so we're putting y equals negative x plus 1. We're going to hit settings. And we're looking for 3, negative 2. So 3, negative 2. So I typed in 3, got negative 2. That matches. This is my answer. Negative x plus 1. So remember, I was supposed to have something eliminated. Oh, I had eliminated these two right here. All right, I want negative x plus 1. So if you do all that work and you finally get the answer, don't mess up by choosing the wrong answer. Be very careful. Okay. All right. And then both of these are looking for perpendicular. Once again, if you struggle with perpendicular, then focus in on what you do know. Go type all these in and see which one contains this point. I would also focus in on what I know. We're looking for perpendicular. That means it's not parallel. So if my slope here is negative 2, it is not going to be parallel, which is negative 2. So it's not going to be these, and boom, it tells you right here, my perpendicular is 1/2. So if I flip this and change the sign, I would end up with a positive 1/2. And then it could either have nothing or plus 2. That's different. Usually, that's not like that. So it's kind of weird. All right, so we're looking at 4, 2. So let's go take a look at this. We'll refresh this. So we're going on y equals 1 over 2 x. Okay, so this one just stops at y equals 1 over 2x. And then we're going to take a look at this, and we're looking at 4. So 4, 2. So 4 and 4, 2. All right, that matches. So this is my answer. So 4, 2 would just be A. All right, and our last hard one. So the slope here is 3. We want perpendicular. So perpendicular is not parallel. So parallel slopes would be the same, and I don't want them. So if it says 3x, we're marking them off. Oh, this must be our perpendicular right here. So I hope that little trick I'm doing makes sense. I'm really just focusing in on parallel, and based off what parallel is, I'm eliminating, and then I know what's left is perpendicular. So perpendicular would be a negative 1/3. So if I flip it and change the sign, all right, x, and then we'll put minus 6 here since that's a, and we're looking for the point negative 3, 5, negative 5, sorry. All right, so let's go type this in. And we're going to reload this. So this is y equals minus 1. And then if we want a fraction, so 1 over 3 x minus 6. All right, and then we want table. So I type in table, and we'll type in negative 3. So I type in negative 3, and it's negative 3, negative 5. So that's our answer right there. So we typed in the negative 6. All right, so now we got some easy ones because we typed in negative 6. All right, so these next few are going to be easy. So how do I know that these are so easy? Okay. All right, let me clear this real quick and let's get down here. Well, first off, I'm the one that made it, so that's how I know it's so easy. But the second reason is because these are all going to be parallel or perpendicular to the x-axis or the y-axis. And I know that's going to seem kind of confusing, but parallel or perpendicular to the x and y axis means that these are always going to be zero slopes or undefined slopes every single time. And that's Hoy and Vux, and we love Hoy and Vux. These are easy. So the one thing we do have to do here, and there is something very important we have to do here, is whatever axis it says, we want to draw that axis and only that axis. So this says parallel to the x-axis. I'm going to draw the x-axis right here, okay? This is what the x-axis looks like. Now, once you have the x-axis, we want a line that's parallel. Well, what would a line that's parallel look like? Well, it would run even. It would be parallel to it, okay? Now, I want you, once you draw this line, to not think about this x-axis anymore. I want you to think only what the slope is here, okay? So once you draw, whether it's parallel or perpendicular, only focus in on the slope. So what's the slope right here? So if this is my slope, dude, hopefully you know Hoy and Vux, but if you don't, here's our slope, dude. And a skater skating on this, well, that's not very fun. It's flat. He'd rather be going downhill. And so this is called zero fun. Now, you also have up here, I put this Hoy and Vux. And so you could see if you're looking at this right here, that this is the line that we're talking about. And whether you connect this to Hoy because of the line is horizontal, if you connect it to the zero slope, what is important here is that it connects to Hoy, and we're really interested in the y, okay? So when it connects to Hoy, it means absolutely everything is y. So when we go back to this, if everything is y, look at your answers. Well, A has an x and D has an x. So we know it's coming down to these two. Now remember, everything connects to y. So when you look at this right here, which one is the y? If you don't know, I want you to remember that in math, we follow the alphabet. So I don't care if you have to sing your ABCs and get down to X, Y, Z. X comes first and then Y. Y is right there. And so I want the one with the 5. So the answer is B. Okay. All right, so let's go to this one. It wants perpendicular to the x-axis. Draw the x-axis. So here's the x-axis. What does perpendicular look like? So some of y'all may not be as familiar with perpendicular, but perpendicular has got to cross it and form a 90-degree angle, which is what this little box means right here. So we draw this line. Now, once we draw this line, the only thing we focus in on is the slope of this line, the one that we drew. And so this line right here, if a skater's trying to skateboard on this, he's going to be dead. He's going to be undefined. And so if this is undefined, then that connects to Vux, And what we really like about this is that X right there, absolutely everything X, no Y's. So when I look at this, there's no Y's, so it can't be these two. And then once again, it's everything X. So what was the X coordinate? It was 2. And so it's going to be X equals 2. So Hoy and Vux really make these questions easy, okay? But you got to draw the picture, you got to draw the axis and then draw whether it's parallel or perpendicular. Then you got to focus in on the slope so that we can connect it to Hoy or Vux. All right, last two and we are done. Okay, so this time, same thing, but this time with the y-axis. So we got to draw a y-axis here. And that's my y-axis. It wants parallel. So we draw a line that's parallel, so it goes the same direction. All right, so once we draw this line, we focus in on slope. So the slope of this line right here, if I draw my skater dude, he's going to be dead, so that's undefined. So this is Vux, and so it connects to X's, and it's everything X. That means there can be no Y's, no Y's. And then it's everything X, including the X coordinate, and the X coordinate is 1, so the answer is going to be A. So once you understand how to do this, it goes pretty quickly. All right, so perpendicular to the y-axis. So first thing we do is draw that y-axis. Now what's perpendicular mean? Perpendicular means that it crosses it and forms a 90-degree angle. So this was my y-axis. So we're looking at this one right here. So if slope dude's on this, he's having zero fun because it's flat. And so this is our zero slope. What's the zero slope? Hoy. And what do we really care about on Hoy? That y. So it means everything y. So it can't have any x's in it. And then it's everything y, including the y coordinate. And so it would be -3. So it would be C. So those are definitely easier. You also have one question on the quiz from last week that had this as a question. Now, it didn't say parallel perpendicular. It just gave you the slope of 0 or undefined. And so you could connect it to Hoy or Vux and get your answer really, really easy. Okay. All right. Well, I hope this is helping. Thank you guys for watching the video.